Hello, welcome in live chat. It is indeed a Wednesday. There is indeed a CJ Cup. Absolutely stacked field. This next hour, it's all yours. Whatever you want to talk about, drop it in the chat right now. We'll go through as many as possible. If we run out, we'll stop early. If we have a lot of good ones, we'll keep going. It's a very, very simple game we play here every single Wednesday. I'm quite tired though, I have to admit. I did the golf ball testing this morning. If you saw me tweet about that. So I just went and hit a ton of golf balls, and I'm a little more gassed than I originally anticipated, but I'm going to power through. We're going to figure this out. Here we go. Ryan McWinney. Whoops. Scotty with a new putter? Question mark. If he can plug that hole this week, I like his chances. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, right? Here's Scotty Scheffler. Even with a subpar putter, he's been able to put up some pretty good results. However, he has not really ever found the top of the leaderboard or near the top without gaining strokes with the putter. This is my website. It's RickRunGood.com. You should definitely subscribe to it. So his best finish while losing strokes with the putter was at T13, where he lost a stroke with the flat stick. And then you see misses a cut by losing, misses another cut by losing, a T21 here, losing strokes. But when he gains strokes with the putter, it's a wrap. Right? That's what we've seen from Scotty in 2022. He's either going to win or he's going to finish second or he's going to finish third. The new putter it's a prototype. I tweeted it out. I think they call it the T5.5. It's a mallet style putter. It's not that blade that we're used to seeing Scotty play with. This could go either way, right? This is very much the unknown entity. It's a variable that we cannot account for. If he putts well, I think you are looking at a really good finish. If he doesn't, history says he's not going to be up there. We've seen guys switch putters and immediately gain like 3 strokes putting, or we'll see guys that, hey, it still doesn't feel all that comfortable. It's weird when you get into competition and it's not that great. So I have no idea. All I know is that he is putting a new putter in the bag, and his performance this week will likely be dictated by said putter. Given that wind looks to be minimal and the field is a lot stronger this year, what do you think the winning score will be? So I think last time I thought they were calling for rain on Saturday, which would be a damn shame because this golf course is so good at firm and fast. I think Garrick Higgo won it at 11 under par. I will say 15 wins it. If it gets really wet on the weekend, maybe 16 or 17, but I still think you're going to have a decent bit of resistance, right? If this is that sand firm and fast that they want it to be, and which Patrick McDonald of CBS Sports, he was on the ground earlier. I mean, like it's firm and fast right now. Hopefully it stays that way all week. Hey Rick, what do you think of Tom Kim for one and done? Ride the hot hand without having to burn a top guy. Yeah, I'm cool with this, right? What Tom Kim has done is nothing short of spectacular. And there's a couple of items that we have to think about here. First of all, look at that brand new headshot I have of him. How good is that? Great hat. So what do we know about Tom Kim? The only deficiency is that he does not hit the ball very far. This golf course, if it plays firm and fast, is going to give you a lot of roll. It's going to give you a lot of bounce. Even the shorter hitters are certainly in play around this place. And then if that's the only deficiency, the rest of his game is unbelievable. I mean, he's gaining 1 to 2 strokes per round on approach, which is elite level stuff. His short game is splendid, and we've seen the putter be great. We've seen it be scorching. We've seen it be one of the best putting performances we've ever seen in the ShotLink era during the Wyndham Championship. So I'm cool with this. There's a chance that Tom Kim is not who we thought he was or who we think he is now. And once he gets into the rigors of a full season and maybe gets a little bit tired, I don't know. I think there are a lot of unknowns for Tom Kim in 2023, despite how high I am. I'm fine using him here. I've actually opted to go a different route for one and done, which I'll keep to myself unless it comes out later. Any love for the short straight crew this week? Harman, Henley, Todd. My understanding is that, and again, this is from Patrick McDonald, who was there for practice round. I think it was yesterday, and he's there again today. Guys like Brendan Todd, the problem is going to be that there are some corners you can cut at Congaree, and if you can carry some bunkers on typical Fazio designs, if you can carry the trouble, you are in much better shape. So it really just narrows the path to these guys. Henley's a little bit more interesting because I think you get a situation where Henley is a great iron player and he gets to putt in a region that he should be fairly confident and comfortable with. Brian Harman's also, I mean, these guys are all Georgia guys, right? In some form or fashion, whether it's the University of Georgia or they reside there right now. So they should be pretty familiar, but that's a little bit exciting for Henley because he's much more known. I think Todd just has a much more difficult path to the top. And then Harman, I think Harman actually played well. Let me just check this real quick, and I'll pull it up here. Let's just look at the guys that played this event when it was the Palmetto, right? That's the only other time we've seen this in action. And I thought Harman had a decent week, but am I making that up? I guess I am, because he didn't even play it. So I'm completely making that up. Brendan Todd didn't play, and Russell Henley didn't play either. It's a little bit surprising, but it was the week before the US Open. So maybe those guys were taking a little bit of rest. Been a loyal listener since forever. I'd love to never hear you say Tagala is streaking. You never know what to expect. Please and thank you. It'd be a lot easier to stop saying that if it wasn't so true, but I understand your point. Thank you. What's up, Rick? In outright betting, I'm looking at the top guys in the Rick Run Good model: Hatton, Victor, Scheffler, Rahm, Sung Jae. Would you consider any of these guys to be fool's gold this week? I've bet Terrell Hatton, but I do worry about that. Here's the ball strike. So this is why I bet him. 11 strokes gained in the ball striking categories at the Palmetto when we played here. Lost 3 strokes with the putter. If you look at even his result last week, I don't think was as bad as it looked, which was a T45, I think. Yeah, T45 at the Zozo, but he's got 2 top 10s outside of that. The only issue that I have for Hatton is, at this point, what is his winning upside? Legitimately, what is his winning upside? And I think when you start to roll this back, you're like, man, it's been almost 2 full years since he won in Abu Dhabi. And that's when he kind of rattled off like those 4 wins in 15 or 20 starts or whatever it was. And we have not seen really anything close to that. Played well at Bay Hill, which he always plays well at Bay Hill. Played well here. So I'm hoping he plays well here again. So I think when you're looking and comparing this to the other guys, and look at those names: Victor, Scheffler, Rahm, Sung Jae. Hatton is the fool's gold of that group. However, I've bet him because I'm a fool. Rick, how much do you weigh strokes gained fatigue this week? Does it matter less in no cut events? I don't generally care that much. There's always anecdotal evidence. There's not really a lot of good evidence when guys fly a lot of miles. I will also say, first of all, the PGA Tour chartered a plane from Tokyo to Atlanta. Nonstop, I think it was a Boeing 777 or something, like a huge plane. So I think they were quite comfortable if they came on that charter. I also think that these guys fly and travel more than most people, and they are in tune with their bodies and how to get over jet lag and stuff like that. So I just don't usually care about it. A lot of 6 and 7 guys seem to be popping up for me. Is this the best event in the fall to use the stars and scrubs method? Okay, I think that's pretty fair, right? You've got a top-heavy board with a lot of really good golfers, and then you're right, that 6 and 7K range, you throw out some of the guys that you don't think have any chance, but then you get to a lot of really reasonable options like Seamus Power, who owes us and also played well here at the Palmetto, and SH Kim, who has been absolutely just phenomenal. And even going down into the 6K range, a volatile guy coming off the T25 at the Zozo like Alex Smalley, or like, yeah, I do think that this is a fairly reasonable stars and scrubs week. I think that's a good idea. Hank Hill says, "Oh, this is a good one." Okay. So Hank Hill asks a very meta question here. So when's the next lineup optimizer custom model update? Any chances we can be able to add a minimum percentage for a player along with the maximum? So I was hoping to be able to show the custom model right now, the new one, because it is being pushed to production as we speak. And I was going to wait for somebody to ask a question like, "Hey, Rick, can you run a new model?" And I was going to unveil it very sneakily and surprisingly, and it was going to be fun. But it didn't happen. If this live chat was like 3 hours later, it probably would have happened. So here's my goal. I believe at this point on a Wednesday that by the end of this week, the new custom model will be on RickRunGood.com, and you will be able to see it for the CJ Cup. And then as I refresh it, boom, you get to use it for next week, which is what, Mayakoba? Is that right? Or Houston, maybe. That is my goal. Now, the new custom model is a huge improvement. There are a ton more stats. There are mixed stats. So if you want to use last 12 rounds off the tee, but last 50 with the putter, that's on you. There is course history. So we could plug in Congaree. We could plug in anything, comp courses, whatever. There are just a ton more options for you. That will still, Hank, be like V1 of the new model. So for V1, you'll still have to use the little trick to do minimum percentages, which is, raise a guy's value to 500 or something outrageous and let the thing do its thing. But that's one way to trick the system into doing a minimum. The V2, which is hopefully closer to like the start of the year, would be like multiple slates, would be a minimum percentage. Like there's a list of these things. So I think you guys are going to be very happy this week. And then of course, there's always going to be constant improvements. Can you talk a little bit about stars and scrubs? Oh, kind of did that. Yeah. So I'm looking at starting with Fitz to try to get a little bit different. McIlroy and Rahm scare me, man. You must be spooked easily, Dave. If Jon Rahm coming off a win and Rory McIlroy coming off constant success scare you, I think you have a fear problem, Dave. All joking aside, those guys are great options. What would you give Rory or Rahm versus the field this week? Well, the field would be heavy favorites, right? So if Rahm and Rory each win this 8% of the time, 16 for round numbers, call it 15. So it's like 1 in 6 that they win, something like that. That might be even generous. And then the field gets the rest of that. Hi, Rick. You emphasize driving accuracy in your preview, but Andy is all about driving distance in his article. I love you both, but you're confusing me. Please help out. Thanks. Okay, well, I think this is pretty simple. So the way that when I say driving accuracy, that is a statistical representation of what I'm looking for, right? Driving accuracy literally means that you hit the fairway or not. So you could, I very much am on board saying, hey, like playing out of the fairway is critical, because if you miss the fairway, you're in trouble. Now there are wider fairways, which I think is probably what Andy is getting at here and saying, okay, well, you can kind of bombs away. I think he also knows that a lot of Fazio situations where if you cut the dog leg, if you carry X bunker, if you are able to take out, you're usually able to take out a lot of trouble with driver if you can carry it that far. So I think both can be true. The other thing is neither of us might not know anything, right? The stat model that I put up here, which that's based on 1 year's worth of data, right? So when I came on here Monday, I was like, listen, pump the brakes on this model. It's 1 year worth of data, and we played it in June. It's October. This might be completely different. We have no idea. So I think we're both doing a really good job of trying to make educated guesses. Rick, sniffing yourself is not a saying. Yes, it is. I believe it is derived from smelling yourself. It is a variant, smelling yourself. Here you go. Urban Dictionary. Smelling yourself, checking yourself out, looking in the mirror too much, thinking that you have swag or game, flirting with a lot of showing off involved, being vain and egotistical. Here's an example. He is constantly in the mirror flexing with his shirt off, smelling himself. Here's another. Every time you get around a female, you start smelling yourself like you got mad swag. It's like you instantly turn into Soulja Boy or something. There you go. That's written by Cat to Queen in November of 2015. Sniffing yourself is a variant of that. Dave, that makes me think you don't have enough swag or game to know about smelling yourself. Also, KP does need to go to a Wawa. Can we do a deep dive on JT Poston? Yeah, I'd love to. There's nothing I'd love more than a JT Poston deep swag. Yeah, deep dive. Okay, so this is fair, right? So a bounce back week from the Sanderson Farms, which we know was the week after his bachelor party, and he was probably all jet lagged, we'll call it. So misses the cut at the Sanderson Farms, comes right back, gains 3.8 at the Shriners, finishes T20. Game is sharp, right? This is a good week. When you're JT Poston and you only lose a quarter of a stroke over 4 rounds off the tee, you've done a very, very good job, and you lean into the rest of your strengths and you finish inside the top 25. That's kind of how he does it in most of his good finishes, right? Similar thing as T21 at the Wyndham. Doesn't drive it all that well, picks it up on approach and picks it up on the rest of his game. How does he do it when he wins? Adds the driver to it, basically. Yeah. So this is fine. I think JT is very much on brand at the moment. I think that you should be expecting a decent performance. I want to look at his splits real quick. He's a very good Bermuda putter. Yeah, let's go. Let's fire up JT Poston. That's all good. How do we like Cam Davis this week? Yeah. So, remember this golf course, like, I don't know how to quantify this, but this golf course is designed to be like a sandbelt Australian golf course, which guys like Jason Day and Cam Davis are going to have played a lot more than everybody else. It is that sand base the ball reacts differently, off the club face, the way it rolls, the way it bounces, the creativity required, the shaved down areas around the greens, the fact that there's basically zero rough on this golf course. Like, these are all things that someone like Cam Davis should be much more exposed to than a lot of other guys. And if you tap into the wider fairways and you think he can keep it in the fairways, he's a go. Right? Because that's the only concern. The only concern is that he's so wayward off the tee, you start bringing in a lot of those marshes and wetlands and trouble areas. And now you're at the mercy of your lie in the sand, or you're stymied behind a tree. I think that this is a plus play, call it a 7 out of 10, something like that for Cam Davis, who's been, like, let's be real, he's been very, very good. Finished T30 at the Zozo Championship last week, played okay at Shriners and still finished T37. And that was a losing approach week for him and a losing putting week for him, which is kind of unlikely to happen again. I'll just pivot this into, is Jason Day back? Like, that's the very next question. All the things that I say about like the Australian sandbelt stuff, like, all the same. And oh, by the way, he gained 9 strokes ball striking at the Shriners, this is a really good sign, right? So, it was probably last summer where someone was like, hey, what's Jason Day's situation? And I was like, well, look at his stat profile, right? -4, -3, -3, -3 on approach in 4 consecutive weeks. When he is at his best, he was one of the best approach players in the world. He's never going to be that guy again, because he was a number 1 player in the world. He won 7 times in 17 starts. But to be back towards his DNA is a really good sign. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight weeks of gaining on approach, in which 3 of them have been 3.5 strokes or more. That is a really, really good sign. So I think this is a spot to buy on Jason Day. And it might be 1 week only, right? Depending on where he goes and where he tees it up next. And we were a week early on Ricky, giving him the 1 week special, and he played well the week after. So we were a week early on Ricky. We might be a week early on Jason Day, but this feels like a pretty strong spot to run him out. Best play in the 70 to $100. Oh boy, 70 to 1 to 100 to 1 guys this week outside of Emiliano Grillo. Okay, so let's pull it up. So 70 to 100. Keith Mitchell 75 to 1 is a guy that I bet. Jason Day's at 80. That's not bad. What do we think about Ricky? Right? What does Ricky have going well for him? Played well last week, played well in Napa. He plays well at open Fazio courses, Summit Club, right? Which is basically the last 54-hole lead before the one he just had. The other thing that I think is interesting about Ricky is look at the difference in markets. 55 to 1 at FanDuel, 80 at DraftKings, 66 to 1, 65 to 1, 70 to 1. The markets don't know what to do with him. If you can find an 80 on Ricky, I wouldn't mind that. Outside of that, I don't love anything. I will say, I don't know if he can actually win. S.H. Kim, so you're seeing him here listed as Song Hyun Kim, is a killer. And that swing is super good. And let's look at what he's been up to. I don't know if he can actually win this thing, but he finished 4th at Shriners and was a flusher. 13th at the Sanderson Farms, T36 at Fortinet. The withdrawal at the Korn Ferry Tour Championship, he had already gained 9 strokes to the field that week. Like, this is a great stretch of golf for him. And I think he passes the sniff test. I think he passes the eye test. I think he passes the stat test. It's 100 to 1. I don't know if he can win it. Happy live chat day, Rick. Thank you. We no longer call it Wednesday. Okay. That's fair. I can accept that. Why call it Wednesday? Can you do a deep dive on Sepp Straka? Yeah. So the problem with this stat profile, we don't know how he did it at Zozo, right? So we don't get the lasers, we don't get the cameras, we don't get the strokes gain breakdown abroad. Finished T45 and lost strokes to the field. That's the first time he's lost strokes to the field since the Wyndham Championship. So now this could go a couple of different ways. We've seen this. We saw this with Trey Mullinax, right? A guy plays horrible, gets hot, and then has a week where you're not sure what to do. Will Sepp Straka revert to this version, the 6 missed cut version, or will he go back to this version, the 2nd, 28th, 7th, 2nd version? That's the big question. Mullinax went back to the bad version. We see this a lot. I think in general, it is a spot to give him one more chance because most people will just forget about it. What's his projected ownership? 13%. Honestly, higher than I expected. That's his projected ownership. So I think you give him one more chance. If he has another bad week, we can worry about him down the road. But I think you give this guy one more chance. Also, I believe he's also a Georgia guy. Not that that matters or means anything, but he went to Georgia, didn't he? Georgia Bulldog via Austria. What's the betting card look like? Okay. Yeah, let's do it. Let me log in. I think I bet a lot of guys. I got a little excited this week. This is definitely the premier event of the fall. So I might have bet a lot. Obviously, Victor's on the card. Here we go. Oh no. Well, yeah, I did kind of bet a lot, but they start at 24 to 1. So I got Fitzpatrick at 24 to 1, Matt Fitzpatrick. Hovland at 25, which again, I don't usually count. Spieth at 33. Yeah, I'm a believer. So my two top of the board bets are 24 to 1 and 33 to 1, Matt Fitzpatrick, Jordan Spieth. So I'm hoping that I don't get burned by the Rory Rahm buzzsaw. Hatton at 46, Keith Mitchell at 65, Grillo at 75, Jason Day at 75. There you go. Those are mine. Doesn't mean you have to bet it. Save your money. Probably losers. Rick, can you run a model that identifies players with the ability to work the ball and basically be creative? Man, if I could quantify that, I could run a model on it. However, I don't know how we would quantify it. I had a dream last night, or I was thinking last night about how we just need access to, I mean, I think the tour at this point, for most shots that have, most courses that have shot link, we're basically getting every shot. They have so many TrackMan devices out there. I think we're getting most shots recorded, that they're just not sharing that data in a way that I would like it to be. So I would love to have like the golf version of a baseball savant site where it's just a giant database and I can see the hardest hit ball off the tee, like all that stuff. But Chris, if there was a way to quantify it, we could model it, but I don't know how we'd quantify that. Am I an idiot for burning Spieth in one and done? Probably. I bet him, right? So I don't think it's horrible. And it is I think first is basically $2 million, 1.98. So I think you want someone. The thing with Spieth is he has so many good spots, right? Anywhere in Texas that he plays. And now, so here's the other thing. The schedule, right? We've got the elevated events and the top players in the world are now committing to these 20 events or whatever it's going to be. Spieth is still indicating he's going to play Colonial or whatever, right? Like he's going to play the AT&T Byron Nelson. So you might get a situation where Jordan Spieth and maybe Scottie Scheffler are the only two guys that go to Texas because those are not elevated events anymore. And Spieth might be 6-1 in an event that pays 1-4, 1-5, something like that. You're also going to get an opportunity to play him at Augusta National. You're also going to get an opportunity to play him at a Open Championship, right? I mean, he's gonna freaking defend likely now at a larger field event at RBC Heritage, right? I think there's just so many spots to use Jordan Spieth that this feels like it's the 6th or 7th best spot to use him, right? We have no idea how he's going to play at Congaree. We have a very good idea how he's going to play everywhere else. I'll just tell you, in the run and done, I used Rory McIlroy, which is kind of jarring, but I kind of got talked into him, and I get it, right? So the case for Rory is that one, he's probably the best player in the world right now, and he is just shredding everything. Look at this. T8 win, runner-up, fourth. That's his last 5. Go back even further. He has a miscut in Memphis, and otherwise these are single-digit returns and finishes. Fazio killer, distance, accuracy, the putter's fixed. It's $2 million up top. So the argument is, would you rather play Rory McIlroy now for $2 million or play him at a major championship? And you get a major championship, which is probably going to be like $2.7 million to the winner. But I think the field's going to be a lot harder, and it's certainly going to be deeper, right? When you go to a PGA championship or a players championship or wherever else, it's going to be deeper. And you're also likely to inject Cam Smith, Dustin Johnson, whoever else qualifies from LIV, right? When that gets all figured out. I've convinced myself that in a 78-player field with $2 million up top, which would be equivalent to second place at a major championship, in a much smaller field, playing as good as he is on a course that should suit him, I've played Rory McIlroy. That could be wrong, but that's what I've done. Badger says, good afternoon, Rick. Hope all is well. You as well. In this field, who are the longest, straightest drivers of the ball? If you have time for one extra question, total lagging. Okay, so I think the way we should just do this would be, there's a couple ways, but we could just do, all right. So one, I'll show you just last 36 rounds, strokes gained off the tee. Cam Young, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, Sung Jae Im, Keith Mitchell, Scottie Scheffler, Matt Fitzpatrick, Corey Connors. That's not a perfect answer to your question. So I will also go to the stats page. I will go to off the tee, and we can look at probably total driving, because total driving literally is the combination of accuracy and distance. So that's Rahm, Mitchell, Connors, Sung Jae, Emiliano Grillo, Victor Hovland. Not really that big of changes there. And then to answer your other question, total lagging, is that a stat I made up? Right? There was a week where it was super large green. Maybe it was the Open Championship, and I combined approach putt performance and maybe 3-putt avoidance or something like that to make a total lagging stat. I don't have that handy every single week, so I'll just show you the best approach putt performances. Trey Mullinax, and then a bunch of guys tied: Alex Noren, Brian Harman, Chris Kirk, Jordan Spieth, Hideki, Justin Thomas, Luke List, so on and so forth. So total lagging is a stat I made up on the spot. Maybe I'll have to work that into the database. Last man in general, is it Danny Willett? Interesting. Willett, what have we seen him? Did he play? He must have played the Alfred Dunhill Links, right? But we haven't seen him since the playoff, or not the playoff, the 72nd hole. So, boy, this is a very tough scene. Not a tough scene, but like a very difficult to try to figure out what's going to happen here. So Danny Willett's got T7, T67, missed cut, T9, missed cut. Should have won the Fortinet, but finished second, missed cut. Wow. Boy. I really don't know. Super reliant on the short game. Very good putter, very good around the greens. Not a good approach player, a slight positive off the tee player. Wow. That is a very difficult guy to predict. I'm like a 4 out of 10 on him. Let's look at the cheat sheet, though, and look for kind of that last man in that you're referring to. So Danny Willett's price is 6,200. It's pretty good for 6,200. The other guy that I would consider, I believe, is Yosop Sio. Let me pull him up right now. Yosop Sio has this string of results on the Asian Tour. 14th at the Shinhan Donghai Open, 15th at the Korean International Series, 22nd in Singapore, 4th in Indonesia. That was his August and September. Go back a little bit further into June. He's got another 11th place finish. He's played this event before. Didn't go particularly well, but he played it. The other one is Bio Kim, who's the 129th ranked player in the world. He is coming off a runner-up finish 2 starts ago. He won just in May. Played the Scottish Open, missed the cut. Played the PGA Championship, missed the cut. Outside of that, it's been pretty good. I think he's min price though. Yeah, $6,000. So it might be Danny Willett if you're willing to go into the Asian Tour guys. I think it's Yosop Sio or Bio Kim. Is there a way on Rick Run Good to look up how players have done the week immediately following the Zozo Championship? I believe it was Bermuda. Well, I could show you Bermuda, but I think what you're asking for is guys that played both the Zozo and the Bermuda. There is not a way to do that, but I will look into that because that's a pretty good one. Yeah. Couple of deep dive requests here. One on Kuchar, one on Lee Hodges. Kuchar's been surprisingly good, if I remember correctly. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't drive it long anymore. That's why he loses off the tee, but the approach play's been solid and at least gives you a crack at it. And then he's always putting well. I mean, his year started with a T12. He's missed the cut twice in his last 12 starts, something like that. It's actually a lot better than I would have anticipated. He's just going to have to be, pretty sharp on the greens. Lee Hodges, I think, is probably much more interesting. Lee Hodges, T23 at the Zozo. Look, this is a stat profile that you like to see. Very good ball striking consistently, strong around the greens, and then a very volatile putter from -4 to 2.9 in his last 8 starts. That's great. This is a stat profile, and it's why he's been able to finish inside the top 15 or the top 25 fairly frequently. Right? Remember when he was it the American Express that he was like in the final group and he ended up finishing T3 that week, but could have easily been his first win and was a taste of why he's going to be inside the top 15 pretty frequently. So I like that. For a single entry, what type of lineup, Bill? Would you lean, grab a 10 and a 9 and then load up in the 7K range? I think I prefer a more stars and scrubs approach. Strokes gained CJ hat. Best hat in the world. Best hat in the world. Can't buy it anywhere, though. If anybody has access to one of those CJ hats, give me a holler. Here's a Billy Horschel question. How about that? Right? So T21 at the Tour Championship, but that was, I think he started like T18 or T19 or something like that. T9 at the BMW PGA Championship, great result. Played fine at the President's Cup. T10 at the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship. I do think that, we've seen Billy get creative, right, on some of these, I don't want to call them link style golf courses, but these creativity style golf courses, right, which is what I think Congaree is. This is a pretty good stat profile. I'm like a 6.5 out of 10 on him. Who have you warmed and who have you cooled on? Warmed on Rory and warmed on there was someone, and I made a mental note to be like, "What? Hi, I'm warming on this guy." Who was it? Hold on. I legitimately like made a mental note to be like, "Oh no, I'm definitely warming on this guy." Cam Young? No, I don't think so. Hatton? No. I was always pretty high on him. Mito, I think, is the guy because there are some kind of comps and similarities to Southern Hills, right? With like a lot of these runoffs and not a lot of rough or thick rough around the greens or anything like that. And obviously he was leading there for a very long time. So I've warmed on Mito. We've seen him the ability to just get absolutely scorching and be a great driver. And honestly, one of the better ball strikers that we have on tour. Last 36, I don't think he should. Oh, he does. He's like 10th in terms of ball striking. Last 100, I think he's like first. Maybe not anymore. I lied. He's okay. He's like 6th or 7th, which is outstanding. He's better than Colin Morikawa in ball striking. He's better than Cam Young. Awesome. So I think he's the guy. Guys I've cooled on. I worry about Morikawa. I'm not going to lie. I really like it, and I think he's in for a big year, but I just don't know anymore. Not much talk about Homa. Seems to rate out well here. Yeah, I think Homa is proving he can contend anywhere, right? And the harder, the better almost, right? Quail Hollow and TPC Potomac and Riviera was awesome at the President's Cup. He got it done again in Napa, and it was like nasty conditions. Look at how he drives the ball. Look at how he drives it. He has not lost more than a stroke off the tee since this event last year. That was Summit Club. It was a year ago. Approach play, great. Yeah, this is such a good stat profile. All right, I'm gonna skip some questions here. See if we can find some goodies. Is the narrative that driving accuracy is not important flawed this week? Some clips from 2021 look like a wild driver can put you in really rough spots. I agree with that, right? And that has been my stance all week. But driving accuracy is a stat, right? Driving accuracy means did you hit the fairway or not? If the fairways are wider, you hit more fairways. But if you miss, you are punished more. So I think that's pretty. I don't know if there's anyone who is doubting missing the fairway is not good, right? Like if you miss the fairway, it's not good. Like I think everyone agrees on that. I think the argument would be, is distance more important or is driving accuracy, or are guys that are normally more wild off the tee not as bad this week because the fairways are wider? I think that is the discussion. I don't think anyone is saying if you miss the fairway, you're not in big trouble. This is a great tournament. Is this the big storyline heading into this week? What is going on outside the ropes with 4 elevated? Yeah, great job picking the 4 elevated events. I hope they change every year. I hope that it's an opportunity to get the 3M and John Deere and all these other places eventually an elevated event, whether it's just for 1 out of every 3 or 4 years. But great start. Best 9 and 10K long-term Bermuda putters. Okay. So go to the Holy Grail. Long-term, so you want like everything? Like I'll just do back to 2015. That's long-term to me. We'll do Bermuda putters. We will sort by putting for everybody in this field, but we'll only look, actually, I guess we'll just sort by salary for the 9 and 10K range. Whoops. I guess I got to get the Palmetto Championship out of there. There we go. Burns, right? There's a reason they call him Bermuda Burns, 0.65, same as Matt Fitzpatrick. Also, Sung Jae, 0.38. Those 3. Everybody else is a pretty neutral putter, honestly, in the 9 and 10K range. The big 4 at the top are just barely positive putters on Bermuda. Victor, tiniest little negative. Max, small positive. Colin, pretty big negative. There you go. Urban Dictionary does not count for a saying a street saying, I would argue it is the only reference point that matters. Like literally the only reference that matters. Any thought on expanding Rick Run Good articles beyond just Andy's 2? No, but I wouldn't rule it out. I'm not going to write them. I don't like writing. I don't think I'm particularly good at it. I'm not interested in doing it. I think there's value to it. I do understand there is a pretty significant portion of the audience that would rather read than listen to a podcast or a video. I get that. It's just unlikely to come from me. I think that there is an opportunity to maybe do European content or something like that. Or what I don't want to do, and I just never want to do just like the same thing, right? Like I don't want to just do like a European tour preview. But if there was like, hey, here are some pivots or like something unique. That's why I really like Andy's too, right? Andy does a deep dive on the course, which he's the best nerd at. And then he does a Wednesday, like now that all the information is out, pivots and ownership and all that. Like that's very valuable, actionable information. If it's not valuable, and it's just fodder for the website, I don't want to add it. So if you have any suggestions, I'm interested, but I cannot imagine they're going to be coming from my fingertips. I just don't think it's going to happen. Somebody else, maybe. I don't know. AG wants to know if web stuff is still ugly. Unfortunately, it is. I think the biggest concern, there's a lot of concerns here. He went cut, T69, withdraw, cut. That's about as bad as it gets. I think the big concern is he's not even putting well, right? Remember, he was one of the best putters in the world. You can see the deep green here. We are a long way from that. We're 8 months from that. No, probably longer, probably a year from that. Combine that with then the rest of it, which is he's no longer a great approach player, which he, again, once was phenomenal. It's a lot to be concerned about. This is only a stacked field because a lot of them wanted to be there in person when the 4 elevated events were confirmed officially. I don't think that's true. This is a stacked field because it is an invitational that is being held in the States, and there's $2 million up top. I don't think they care about being on site when a press release gets sent out. I don't think so. Do you have any idea when we might get news on the Netflix series? I thought I saw first quarter of next year. Let me try to confirm this. I saw a tweet, a guy who's like a director, producer on the show. Stand by. I thought I could find it. I thought I could find it pretty quickly, but maybe I cannot. I thought it was early Q1. So like January, February, but now I can't find it. So that's what I thought. Who do you like the best in the nines? Fitz, Hovland, or Homa? I believe it's Fitzpatrick. Do you ever play cash games? No. I like the volatility. I want the lottery ticket. I don't care to double my money. I want 1,000x my money. Couple consecutive questions about Davis Riley. Let's do a Davis Riley deep dive. I wish we had that Zozo stuff. 3 really bad weeks out of 4. The one that he played well was the T19 at the Sanderson. But when you lose 5 at a no-cut event, 6.7 at a cut event, and 6.4 at a no-cut event, woof. Which means you've now, and then you combine that with these 2 missed cuts here, that's like 5 really bad starts in your last 8. 6 in your last 9, kind of. So that worries me, right? We are no longer in this range of results and ball striking from Davis Riley. So I think we're going to have to take a wait and see approach. That's my thought. You can plan. Probably no Harris English love, but we're close, right? So this is a guy we've been monitoring for a long time. finally gained a decent bid on approach in Las Vegas, 3.7. If he does it again, or gives me a stat profile like this, where he gains in 3 out of 4, I'm interested, because he's trying to get back to this, which is gaining across the board. And he was losing across the board for a while. So if we can get another T28 with positive in 3 out of 4 categories, preferably the T to green categories, I'd be a lot more interested. So we're close, Jesse. I'm just not quite there yet. Producer's pick, she'll tell me in a second. What ball did you fit into today? So I hit all the balls and took all the numbers. I now have to crunch the data. I have not had a chance to look at it yet. So I've got to pull it into Excel and I've got to get everything all situated. But I think it's likely to be the Pro V1X, the Pro Plus from Vice. The Feel, I don't think the Mizuno, I don't think those numbers are going to be there. I don't think that the Chrome Soft was actually pretty good, just off of what I felt, but I'd have to look at the numbers. Armina's going with Tom Hoagie. She sent me a picture of a Hoagie. Low owned, cheap Hideki. Ah, boy. I will not get there on Hideki. Right. T40 at the Zozo. We don't have the breakdown. President's Cup, fine, whatever. Not driving it nearly as well. Approach play, iffy. I think it is a good conversation to have, though, about trying to catch Hideki early, right? A 6.9% owned Hideki is pretty interesting if there was like any signs of life. I do think that there are guys you want to catch early and there's guys you want to catch late. I'll be late on Harris English. I'll be late. Mostly I have been late on Ricky Fowler. A guy like Hideki, who's still very much in his prime, who is still very much capable of being the best ball striker in a given week and has improved the putter much longer term, I think is the type of guy you want to be early on. I just don't know if that's this week. That's my opinion. Andy's 2 articles are perfect. Great. You have a simulator at home and still not scratch? Crazy, right? I know. Much better than I used to be, but pretty crazy. I'm at the end of the questions. So we can either stop or we can keep going. Those are the 2 options. I'm going to circle back up because there was a question about Kurt Kittiyama that I skipped because I think he played better last week. Yeah, of course, it's the week when everybody's on him, right? So he goes 7th at the Italian Open, kind of a good missed cut at the Shriners, and T29 at the Zozo. I think you got to run him out again, right? If you played him at the Shriners or you didn't, I think you got to run him out again. So now the last 5 are T19 at a playoff event, T32, 7th, missed cut, which he lost 3.5 strokes putting, and a T29 at the Zozo. I will also tell you, so by the fact that I see that he gained strokes for the week in Las Vegas and missed the cut, that means he missed the cut on the number. So he lost 3.5 putting. He also, I watched him make a double on 5 where it was the worst he could have played. I mean, he hit a iron into the par 3 that got held up into the wind. It was a horrible miss. And his ball was on the rocks. He tried to hit it off the rocks instead of taking a drop. He barely moved it. Then he had to do it again. He ends up making a double. I actually think if he just took the drop, he probably gets up and down from where he was and makes a bogey. So I think combine that with like one really ugly hole at least around the green, and then a horrible putting performance, which is probably it's definitely one of the worst of his year. And he still only made the cut missed the cut on the number. I think you got to go back to him. It is a Foresight sim in a box. It's a GC3. It's not the quad. I love it. Would you play Seamus this week? My first instinct was yes, but let's actually look at this. Oh God, this guy. Maybe not, man. I guess maybe I thought this was better. Too ugly, two miscuts, a 65th, which is basically dead last at the BMW championship, a T30 at the Sanderson, where he lost strokes on approach. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive events in which he's lost strokes on approach. I guess you can't play him. I would like to, because I love the guy. And I also love the upside, but this is, and he played well here at Congaree before, but this is not the stat profile of Seamus Power, right? Six in a row losing on approach. That's not him. This is him gaining routinely on approach. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's him. The putter's there. That's great. But we are not seeing good Seamus right now. So it is sad, but he's got to go. Anything else? Kind of running low here. Are we worried about guys going back to back? Shriner, Zozo, CJ? No. I'm just not. Let me think about what else. Here's the one and done ownership from officefootballpool.com. This is site wide. You can go see this right now. It's not for the run and done. Don't at me. Victor Hovland's the most popular, 9.6%. Matt Fitzpatrick, 8.2. Rory, 6.9. Terrell Hatton, 6.6. Sung Jae, 6.1. Nobody over 10%. That is a very spread out ownership for a one and done. And there are 17 guys between 2% and 9%. Pretty interesting. So you can basically get anybody you want, not have it be super popular, and get your crack at $2 million. That's exciting. What else is happening? I will also show you this. Last week in the Jock market, Keegan went for 803, paid out $25 a share. Andrew Putnam, 555, paid out 20 a share. Ricky Fowler, 509, paid out 18. This is stock market DFS, and you can now short golfers during the IPO. So if you get into the IPO tonight and you see that Rory McIlroy is like $9 or something like that, and you don't think Rory's going to have a good week, you can short Rory during IPO. You can short him during the event, but you can short him during IPO, which is a huge improvement to the liquidity of the market. So stock market DFS, this is going nuts right now. They're hiring like crazy. More people are playing like crazy, and you don't need that outright winner. You just need someone to outperform their expectation, like Cam Champ. $4.22 a share, paid out $12 a share. So use the code Rick. There's a link in the description. Get you a deposit bonus, but they're doing really good work over there. And then there's a power hour tonight. Joe Idoni and myself will take you through all of that starting at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. Lowry keeps popping up in my models. That is, that's good. I like Shane Lowry. You talk about, the guys that kind of reek creativity to me. Shane Lowry and Matt Fitzpatrick and Jordan Spieth. These are guys that I just think can put the ball in the hole, which is not a metric that I normally talk about, but they can just put the ball in the hole. Max Homa's kind of getting that way, right? He does it in a different style. It's a very American style of golf, but he just puts the ball in the hole. So yeah, Lowry's kind of exciting. And Lowry's actually, you got to remember, a lot of these guys have been playing, right? I think Lowry's teed it up a couple times on the European tour. Yeah. He won the BMW PGA Championship. Why don't I remember that at all? I thought he didn't win. Am I confusing this with something else? Am I confusing this with another event? My brain is like, BMW PGA Championship. Did he just win that recently? I'm fried right now on this Wednesday. He won at Wentworth. Yeah. Over Rahm and Rory. Okay. That like literally left my brain. So yeah, that's a pretty good one. Oh, it was 54 holes. That's why I don't. You know what the other thing was? It was my birthday weekend. We were out of town. That's the other thing. 54 holes, out of town. It was my birthday. I was disconnected. I literally could not remember that. Okay, thank you. All right. I think that's going to do it. Yeah, that'll do it. All right. Big thanks to everybody tuning in. Keep an eye out for hopefully a massive push on a new custom model that you'll probably see on the site this week. But if not, I'm certain you'll be able to use it for next week. I'm making big improvements into RickRunGood.com. That's my goal, right? I've stopped doing other things so that I could say RickRunGood.com is going to be the greatest fantasy and betting site for golf that I can ever make it. And I hope that you guys enjoy it. I hope that you sign up. I hope that it is valuable, because my goal is to really pour a lot of energy, a lot of time, and a lot of resources into it. And I'm pretty stoked with what it's going to eventually be. So there you have it. Otherwise, I don't know. Have a great Wednesday. Enjoy your day. Go pet your dog, and catch you next time.